Hello once again, this is Doc Rotten, and welcome to Horror News Radio, the official Gruesome Magazine podcast. We are heading back to 2013. That's right, we're covering Hannibal, just like we did in the old days when we did the official Hannibal podcast. No, not the official. God bless, I wish. It was the unofficial Hannibal. You can see I'm going off script because I'm screwing up. And we love it. All right, but this is what we do over in episode 11. 2 episodes ago after this one, it's we're having a lot of fun revisiting the first season of Hannibal, and what a blast this has been. An exhausting blast because we're shoving it in with all the rest of the stuff. We just did Lovecraft Country, and that was a lot of fun. If you are a fan of that, go check that out. We just finished wrapping up the finale for that. All right, before we get into things, let me introduce the rest of the crew, starting off with award-winning filmmaker Christopher G. Moore. Cannibal Crunch.
Have a bowl of Cannibal Crunch.
Yes.
Nice. I'm still going through my Hannibal shirts. Will I ever end? Never.
No.
Yeah, doing great.
It's good to see you, buddy. Good to see you.
Good seeing you.
All right. Also joining us is a podcasting rock star and international cosplay queen, the one and only Vanessa Thompson. How you doing? And you are a great Freddie Lounds, right? Gloves and all. Yes.
I am. I was inspired by this episode we're going to talk about.
Oh yeah. Yes.
Many inspirations I could have taken from this epised.
Well,
but I chose Freddie Lounds.
Yeah, at least you don't have the Colombian necktie, so it's good for you. All right, what in the hell are we talking about? We're talking about Hannibal here. We're talking about season 1, episode 11. Roti is the title, or Roti. I'm going to say Roti because that's me. June 6, 2013 is when this came out. Director is Guillermo Navarro, a name that is we know very well now. Writers include Steve Lightfoot and Scott Nimmerfro, and the creators are Brian Fuller, based on the characters from the book Red Dragon by Thomas Harris. This episode, Eddie Izzard's back as Dr. Abel Gideon. That's a lot of fun. And Raul Esparza is back as Dr. Frederick Chilton, and then the rest of the cast. The synopsis goes: Dr. Abel Gideon escapes from custody and begins targeting the psychiatrists who attempted to treat him, displaying their bodies with the Colombian necktie. While Alana Bloom is put under protective custody, Gideon kidnaps Dr. Frederick Chilton and lures Freddie Lounds into a trap, forcing her to write an article about him. Meanwhile, Graham's undiagnosed encephalitis drives his temperature up, causing severe hallucinations. This is a wacky episode. We're just going to put that out there. This it goes bonkers fun, and I can't wait to hear what everybody thinks of it. So what we're going to do is we do our first impressions, and then we talk about the show a little bit, and then we wrap things up with our favorite scene, score, and our final thoughts. So you want to stick around for that because that's the fun part. All right. Let's start out with Vanessa, shall we? Vanessa, this is your first visit. Now, of course, Christopher and I, along with our good friends, we did the Hannibal fan podcast, the unofficial, and but you weren't a part of it. You were a baby yet, so you weren't a part of the crew just yet. But now that we're doing it again, you said, "Hey, let me jump on this. This sounds like fun." So this is your first time watching it. Mm-hmm. What did you think? What's your first impression of episode 11?
This is a heavy episode. There's a lot going on in this episode. I mean, between Chilton and Eddie Izzard's character, his name is
Gideon.
Gideon. Oh, yeah. Abel Gideon.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Does he just dance across the screen in this episode?
Yes,
and every scene that he's in, he just owns it. And then watching what's happening to Will too fall apart the way he is, and then us knowing what's going on and just wanting to be able to tell him so bad that it's not in your head the way you think it is. It's driving me crazy at this point, actually. It really is. One, because I'm worried about him having episodes in front of people. And then two, because where is it going to go? Where's it going to go? But all that aside, we got Freddie Lounds again in this episode, but I really enjoyed her in this one. I thought she held her own. I thought she was a really important presence. And I had to give it to her in this one. So a little homage to my girl, Freddie.
Yeah, this is an important episode for her.
Mm-hmm.
She gets a few more before the season's over, and for the well, we'll stop there. Before we spoil something, all right, Christopher G. Moore. Here we are revisiting this episode. This is a pretty important one for a lot of reasons. What did you think revisiting this 7 years later?
Well, it's very interesting, and of course, you know, the title of the episode is what, Roti, which is actually French for roast, where it's of course consisting of roasted game, birds, poultry, or animals. So, look, Will Graham is definitely roasting in his brain right now with all the fever, and he's having a wet dream on Elm Street with all the water stuff.
There's a movie out like that, right?
Do what?
Is there a movie out like that?
There's a porn version, yeah. Not that I've ever watched it. Makes you wonder if there's a Hannibal porn.
I'm sure.
I'm having an old friend for dinner, and by dinner I mean okay. We're having sausage. But anyway, it's a really, actually there was a few things that I really noticed this time around. There's the when Will Graham is having that dream sequence when he's in his bed and you know water starts rising. I never noticed before that his electric clock, the time melts as the water flows, almost like a Salvador Dali painting.
Wow.
And I was like, for some reason I don't remember that, and I was like, that's such a cool visual of seeing just the digital time just float off of the clock and it all turning into water. So yeah, we get a little bit of that where he's having his little hallucinatory wet dreams in the middle of everything. So we get to see him sort of going crazy. And then also I didn't really notice, but then I realized, man, Bedelia is a little bit not so good either, because she's basically one of the reasons that Hannibal doesn't really do anything to stop Will from, you know, going full crazy. Because he's talking about how he sees the friendship there, but she's the one that's like, you should just watch. And I'm like, man.
But she doesn't know what she's talking about. Like in the context of what's happening, really? I don't know. You guys know more than I do. At this point, I'm still I'm faltering on the naivety on her side.
Well, but I think she also she knows how he is. Let's just say that much. She's not as naive as you think she is. And yeah, I mean, maybe we're coming from the perspective of seeing all 3 seasons, but she's not. Just saying.
Oh my gosh. I even forgot she was in this till you said it right now. I forgot about her.
Yeah, because there's that whole scene where he's almost talking like he needs to step in, and she's like, you just need to watch.
Yeah.
It's like, what?
Yeah.
But at the same time, you know, he's even trying to get Jack Crawford, you know, to take away his gun and do all that stuff. And even Jack Crawford is like, no, he's helping us out. We're going to let him be crazy, even though he's walking around with 107 fever, shooting people in the snow. So yeah, it's a really, you know, this is, but at the same time, this episode, I forgot how gory and gruesome this is. And you know, of course we have, I always like to point out the Silence of the Lambs moment when he escapes from the ambulance, which is sort of very, very Hannibal Lecter-ish. But for, you know, the gory stuff from what I call the Christmas ornaments, made up of different organs, you know, to the Colombian necktie. That one scene where the guy's tongue is moving.
Oh my god!
I was
still
cringing.
Alive in a way, I guess.
Yeah, and then just like this right here's the start of Chilton just getting the short end of the stick when it comes to being injured.
His fruit basket.
But yeah, that scene had me like, I don't like needles or cutting and that, just to know that like you're still alive and he's like taking out your organs and having you hold your own organs.
Look,
that's just ridiculous. So yeah,
oh my God, I was dying at how excited the two forensic guys were when they found the organs, and they're like, he even tied it in little bows. That's so impressive.
Yeah, it's very, you know, it's like Marie Kondo organs. So yeah, it's a really gruesome episode that really, again, this showed on NBC.
I know it did.
How did this show on NBC?
It was like 9 o'clock too. Was it 9 or 10? It was 9, 10?
I think it was.
Maybe it was 10, remember. But I feel like it was 9. But oh my God.
But yeah. So yeah, it's this is it still has a little bit of the, I'm not killer of the moment to some degree, but at the same time, we actually have more an integral plot integrating into like Hannibal and him having to deal with people, people sort of getting on his scent to some degree, and then him also having to deal with Will Graham, trying to keep him off. So yeah, it's more of integral to the overall plot of the season and the series. But yeah, it's a really nice sort of point where we finally see that wall, Will Graham's wall, finally breaking through the madness, or like the iceberg or whatever. So yeah, it's definitely another fun episode that really shows you the strength of acting by Will Graham, by Hugh Dancy. We also get to see Alana Bloom, showing a little bit more care for him to some degree. So yeah, I'll stop talking because I could talk forever.
Oh, well, this episode has a lot going for it because, Gideon brings a little bit more of a dangerous element to this relationship between our main characters, because he's after a couple of them, right? Hannibal and Alana Bloom, right? Because he shows up at Hannibal's house. And we get that nice dialogue between the two of them, and we've had that before, right? With another killer showed up, and this seems like Hannibal just seems like to have an open door policy for serial killers. Like, come on in, let's have a discussion. I'm trying to find a friend. But this one's a little different. And then I love how this particular episode ends with Will standing beside of Gideon in the snow outside of Alana Bloom's house. Is so creepy, right? And I was sure I couldn't remember. I remembered the Colombian necktie because how do you forget that, right? But I couldn't remember what happened outside the window. What was going on? I was like, if she sees the two of them standing out there, what is she going to do? I was like, oh my gosh, how do I not remember this? And of course, by the time she looks, Gideon's on the ground. But this episode was so quick. There's a lot going on, and it's snippety snap going by so fast. We find first we get the carnage when Gideon escapes, right? I mean, like, organs are hanging from the trees and everything, right? Every person got a different organ like yanked out of them, didn't they? Right? So it was like, what the hell, dude? So it is, it is. And it is shocking that this was on NBC, even after the previous episodes, right? This one kind of, I don't, what is it about this one that makes it a little bit more shocking?
I don't know. I mean, and it gets even worse going to the second season. But I think there's something about the artful nature of it. I mean, and sometimes it's all about editing, and sometimes our mind sort of fills in the blanks. But because even when he like cuts Chilton open, we see it from the view of him already pulling the organs out. We don't see him like. But yet we see we do have a camera inside the area, and then we do sort of see the pull stuff out, and it's like. So I don't know. I mean, I know that they, they still had them edit certain things, but sometimes it's all in editing, but still they got away with a lot of stuff. I'm really surprised at even now, because I don't think you could be that gruesome on a series now. So yeah, they just got away with, pardon the pun, murder on this series.
Well, people were looking the other way. I mean, the show was doing well, but it wasn't doing explosive yet. It hadn't, it was starting to gain a following, right? The Hannibal thing was beginning, but it really wasn't until season 2, with all the push to make sure there was a season 2, that it became, a cultural phenomenon. And so Vanessa, I'm sorry, you were going to head into something.
I was just going to say, what's worse, like Hannibal ripping someone's jaw open in front of us, or the tongue moving Colombian necktie. It just seems like first of all, there's a lot of face deformation in this series.
Oh, yes, there is. And there's more to come.
Oh my God.
Yep. Yep.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
You will.
I want to know. But it's just like they do these crazy gory things, and like that one seems so wild when I saw that. First the girl in the episode with the smile, and then when Hannibal went in and cut the doctor's face open. But for some reason, this one, I think what you said with the tongue moving like that, and then Gideon just kind of going like this, patting it down so it would lay flat as he's just having this very eloquent conversation, is so off-putting. It's so cold and weird, and like you said, he was untrustworthy, I think, and that's so true, because he's a broken man. His mind is broken at this point, and you're really seeing what can happen with someone who has already committed murder when he was sane. So here's what's happening when he's insane. Anything can happen. I think he would have killed Alana Bloom, honestly, or he would have strung it out, no pun intended.
Oh man, just lay it all out there, right?
And we're not even talking about like how he got to her. How diabolical of Hannibal to do that. Mm-hmm. To send him there, and then to send Will there after him.
Yeah.
When he came back and he put his keys down, I was like, "You son of a bitch!"
Well, he's
wild.
They're just game board pieces to him.
Yes.
He's playing a game with it. I mean, the interesting thing is, like, I think I keep pointing out on this series, there's sometimes with every episode, there's like 2 different people and they're doing 2 different things, and you see the 2 different paths they take. Because there's that one part where Hannibal says, what does he says? The subject mustn't be aware of any influence. Mm-hmm. Okay. Abel Gideon finds out, is aware of the influence, and that's messed with his brain.
Yeah.
Will Graham does not know, and so we get to sort of see these 2 different paths these characters can take. And how they go about it, to where, so, but yeah, I mean, that's always the interesting thing, is like, that's what I love about like this Hannibal Lecter before he becomes the Hannibal Lecter that we know and love, is that he was always the person in the shadows pulling the strings, doing different things to manipulate people, sometimes out of just his curiosity to see what they do, because he's a psychologist, so he's always wanting to know, like, I wonder what they'll do if I do this. It's almost like those people back in the old days that would test things. Let's see what we do if we drive an ice pick into the eye, or
oh my God,
or we set electrodes to their brain, and he's really just, I mean, even the way he hinted at, how to find the Abel Gideon by taking the other guy's body, ripping, cutting his arm off to remind Jack Crawford.
Oh yeah, that was
it's like, he's like, I mean, as much as you want to love Hannibal Lecter, he's a crazy bastard that
he's some bitches.
He'll just mess with you. You don't know you've been messed with until it's too late.
So what about Gideon and not Hannibal, but I'm totally having a brain fart here. Why am I doing this?
Gideon and
Will Graham. Sorry, I said Hannibal. I totally went off a different. Totally lost my mind. So Gideon and Will Graham are standing outside of Alana Bloom's house, and there seems to be. I like that you're talking about paths, because at that point their paths don't collide; they become almost parallel for a short period of time. They're literally standing side by side, and we spend a lot of the episode kind of learning that Gideon has kind of lost his identity. He's trying to find it, and we know that something very similar, Christopher, like you're saying, it has happened to Will Graham. Does Gideon know this? Does he respect that? Or is there a reason why he just doesn't take Graham out? Is it because he's not a psychiatrist? What's the deal here?
I think it's kind of compassion. Just me seeing it the first time, he seems to have compassion for him because he can see that he has been fucked with, basically. He knows how it is to him. He knows who did it to him because he's going back and he's killing them all. And he sees, and especially after that moment in Hannibal's house,
right, with
the stroke or the seizure that he had.
Yeah, and he goes, who do you see there? And it's,
and he sees that there is some mind fuckery going on here. And I think it's strictly from a level of compassion, because otherwise he wouldn't care, and he probably would kill him in some very creative way or another. But I think he honestly feels for him.
Is he like Hannibal? Does he see him as an equal in a strange way?
I think mentally he does. I think he realizes that he's having his own mental issues of being unsure of this or that, the same way that Gideon is, because he's his whole thing about like what the scrambled brain, doing that literally to one of those people. So yeah, I think he sees that because he's the guy had a freaking seizure in front of him. And then he also sees how it made me kind of wonder if he's already questioning Hannibal, because he saw him tell him, no, there's nobody there.
Yep.
I'm sure he is. Yeah.
So he sees how he can be manipulated in his mental state as well. So I think in that way he is. I don't think it's the same as like a killer or anything, but it's more just they're both mentally unstable people.
I do think Gideon kind of he's getting the wind of what's going on here, and that's why he skedaddles out of the house. He's like, oh no, I'm going somewhere else. Let's get out of here.
Well, well, I guess we'll find out later what happens with that. But
is that this season?
I can't remember.
I can't either. And there's all these characters that are we going to wrap that up? What about the lady in the glass coffin? And,
well,
the one in the chamber, the air chamber.
Yeah. So we'll see him back in a very shocking way. That's all I gotta say. But I mean, and then we get to sort of see Freddie Lounds being, how she is in all these situations and having to be
so manipulative and just doing whatever she can to survive. I had to admire that in that moment. I did admire her really digging deep to do whatever she can to survive.
Well, I mean, she could have easily been one of those Colombian neckties because of all that she wrote, which, this episode, there's definitely a lot of stuff from Red Dragon because, Red Dragon, there's a whole thing with Dollar Hyde, because they were putting these fake articles to get Dollar Hyde to come out. And
he did.
The whole avid fan thing was actually something where Dollar Hyde was, because he was actually I think he was the Chesapeake Ripper. Or
I think so. I think so.
But yeah. So I love how they incorporate a lot of stuff from the books, the Red Dragon book, to sort of even though we're not even into the Dollar Hyde stuff until season 3.
Yeah. Oh man, I amaze myself how or maybe I disappointed myself. I don't know, but I lost track of what goes on with this season and season 2. And it's like, there's all these things I'm waiting for. And I was like, not this season. There's 2
Probably
more
because it
episodes.
ties so well together.
It does. That's one of the great things about this series. And we'll begin to wrap up here, is that it is this love story, this bromance, if you will, between Will Graham and Hannibal and all the characters that surround them. And it's just this one long flowing story. And that was one of the great things about this series. And you really feel it here. You really do. And it's definitely, a flawed relationship, but fascinating nonetheless.
What office hours does Hannibal have? Because I feel like
I know.
I feel like he's always in his office whenever Will Graham needs to stop by when he's having a mental episode.
Yeah, because the episode of Hannibal where he shows up and Hannibal's not there for an hour, it just didn't really make the cut.
I guess so. Yeah.
Waiting around.
It's like,
yeah, and he keeps looking at the clock, and
everyone melts off and stuff. Oh man, but there's all these visuals that we still have in store for us. There's some. This is going to be great to revisit this. Not only the rest of the next 2 episodes, but the next 2 seasons.
I can't believe we're almost done.
Yeah, but also we have a nice little callback to Totem Pole.
Yeah, in the
Dead
beginning.
person totem pole. So we got a lot of these things that he's dealt with before, and how that's sort of tying into now with this, where he's having this big mental break where he doesn't know what's going on.
Yeah. All right. Well, there's our review of Hannibal, episode 11, season 1. What we're going to do now is give our final thoughts, score, and our favorite scene. This is fun. This is what you've been waiting for. Stick around, because it's what we do every week. Yeah. But before we do, if you are having a good time and enjoying this, please subscribe down below. Hit the like button. Hit the bell so you can be notified. All that good stuff, and leave some comments. The comments we're getting, we are great. And those who are revisiting the seasons with us and sharing their thoughts with us, thank you so much for that. It really is a joy to read them. And we look forward to reading more. So let's do this. Our final thoughts, our score, and favorite scene. Vanessa, you are up first.
Ooh.
So give it to us.
There's a lot in this episode going on. And I guess now that I realize we're coming to the end of the season, it makes sense. Like, things are really ramping up right now. Poor Will Graham. I'm really interested to see where it goes with him, with this whole encephalitis that he has, and if he's ever going to find out before he dies. Is he going to die? Like, I really don't know. Well, with everything going on, you don't really trust that anyone could be around long term, kind of. They really could do anything in the series. So I'm just so interested to see where it goes. I had a lot of fun with this episode. So many crazy things happened visually and mentally. And I think my favorite thing overall, though, is Eddie Izzard in this episode. He is such a great presence. He's so funny and just really, like, you would be afraid if you were in the same room as this guy, as the person he's portraying. I have fear for my life and my tongue.
Yeah, great delivery, right? The delivery on the dialogue is fantastic.
Wonderful. And I remember we were talking about how he was kind of supposed to be like an homage to
Anthony Hopkins.
Yes. And it's just really, you really see that. You really, really do, with his confidence and his air and his just way of talking to people. It's just really a really well-written character and really just great casting and well played. I'm having a lot of fun with his character. I think I'm going to give this one a 5. This is a really great episode. Yeah, this is really, really great. It involves so many of our characters, if not almost all of them, I think. And that's a lot to take in one episode. Oh my goodness, favorite scene. I was just running through this in my head. and it's I want to pick one with Eddie Izzard, but I think the scene that was most poignant for me was when Will was having that seizure, and he's having that breakdown, and he's pleading and pleading to Hannibal, don't lie to me, please don't lie to me. He needs him to tell him the truth as his friend, you know, and Hannibal just doesn't care to care for someone else other than the way that he sees fit. And that was heartbreaking to watch, and cruel, and really, really that whole interchange by his dinner table, it was just brutal to watch, and I think is really important for the tone of Hannibal Lecter in this series.
Excellent. Well done. Well done. All right, Christopher G. Moore, lay it on us. Your final thought, score, favorite scene.
Well, again, another spectacular episode where we sort of get into the throes of William Graham as he goes a little bit more mad because of his brain issues that the only person really knows about is Hannibal, and he's letting him sort of stew in his own feverish brain juices.
Oh yeah,
yeah, to where he's having wet dreams out the wazoo.
Literally.
So yeah, it's another great episode. He Dancy's always doing a great job. I agree that Eddie Izzard's just fun to watch because, someone who's a big fan of the Silence of the Lambs in general, I like his sort of Anthony Hopkins take on that character where, even the part where he's, when he's talking to the nurse dude in the ambulance, and he's like, how do you keep those whites so white? which kind of reminds me of a Love Ya suit in Silence of the Lambs. But yeah, and just the manipulation game that's going on, how Hannibal Lecter is really doubling down on a lot of things. Where in one way he doesn't really care what he's doing to Will, but at the same time he also has some care and feelings for him to where he's like, maybe I should help him, and I guess that's why it kind of struck me. I didn't realize, oh man, Bedelia is like almost as cold-hearted,
I'm gonna look at her so differently now.
Yeah, but she's almost like, because in some ways it almost seems like he's trying to be less narcissistic, but she's almost like
prodding him on, right?
Him on,
right.
And
I might have to rewatch that.
And so in that way, I'm looking at her totally different, to where it's not like that she's being held captive or whatever, knowing the type of person that he is, that she's got her own mental issues as well, which we'll find out more about her
we will.
season or two. But yeah, I mean, it's a great episode, and of course the gore level made me cringe, and it just reminded me like how gruesome this show can get, with the surgery and the Colombian necktie stuff, and just my poor Chilton.
Chilton and his fruit basket.
Yeah,
oh my God.
Hey, well, just wait, because he's the Wile E. Coyote of this series. He keeps getting hurt. Well, you'll find out. But anyway,
he deserves it though, doesn't he?
Do what?
Doesn't he kind of deserve it?
He kind of deserves it, but he's one of my favorite characters because he's like, he's smarmy but he's also witty, so he also makes me laugh a lot of times because he's also a little bit whiny.
He's funny.
He's a little bit of whiny bitch sometimes.
Oh yeah.
But yeah,
show's punching bag.
Oh yeah, well, I mean, he's definitely a good embodiment of that Chilton that we had in Silence of the Lambs as well.
Yes.
Yeah, so another great episode. Of course, I'm gonna give it a 5 out of 5 because I'm just how my brain works. Because my brain is feverish for Hannibal. As for favorite scenes, I want to say like the gore moment, but I'm gonna say a humorous moment that made me laugh a lot.
Okay,
and that's when they find out that he drained all the blood and he left him a note saying, please donate this to the Red Cross, which made me laugh out loud. Because it's just like, just at the same time, it's like, That's a horrible way to die, where he's just like draining your blood
exsanguinated. That's
until
called.
you've just become so anemic you die.
Yeah.
At the same time, he put it on ice, so at least something good can come from this guy. And I just thought that sort of morbid sense of humor is just right up sort of the Lecter alley, if we will.
Yeah.
So I'll just say that specific moment because it was a morbid scene that made me chuckle, and I enjoyed that. I enjoy the chuckles between parts that made me want to cover my eyes, because it's, you know, pulling organs out of you while you're still alive. So,
oh gosh, that's so gruesome. All right, yeah, this is another great episode. Gideon is a great character and played so well by Eddie Izzard, tremendously well. I mean, like, he gives everybody else a run for their money. I love the dialogue. I love his delivery of the dialogue. I just love his body language. You feel like he's always always thinking, he's always calculating, he's always, he knows what he's heading out to, and you can just see it kind of gears running in his head, especially like in the not the ambulance, but the transportation when he was going to trial, I guess. And you could see him looking around and just putting all the pieces together, and he knew how he was going to get out, and he was just looking for the opportunity, and when he got it, he took it. So and man, he's quick, right? Snap, pow, boom, bam, and now he's free. And like, holy cow! And you wouldn't think he would move that fast, but man, he sure did. And
I love when they show Will Graham jumping out of the back of it. When he's all like
yes.
ready to attack as Gideon. That was such another great moment. There's so much in this episode.
Plus, I've never seen anybody cut someone's neck using handcuffs.
No. But he did that. Oh, he did that a couple episodes back with the nurse, right? Didn't he?
Well, yeah, he stuck all kinds of stuff in her, but I've never seen actual handcuffs be used to cut somebody.
But he has man, it's just it's a great episode. It is. I don't know if it's my favorite episode, because there's a lot of really we got some great things coming. But it is a fantastic episode. So I'm going to give it a 4.75. I'm going to pull back range just a little. But I am going to give Abel Gideon a 5.
Yeah.
I'll give him a 5. So my favorite scene is going to be, I just really liked. So Will comes up, he's behind Gideon, and he has the shot, but he doesn't take it, and he just walks up next to him, and they have this weird conversation, and I found that so utterly fascinating. With the whole, what these two minds were doing, because you got this, you got this insane mind, and you got this brilliant mind that is feverish and driven insane in that respect, as opposed to just insanity. And they're interacting, and it's just neither one knows who they are or who the other is. It's just really fascinating, right? To be there like that, and the tension of what's going to happen with Alana. And I don't know that I don't know. I'm saying a lot about it, but I still don't know exactly why I'm drawn to that particular scene, but I loved it.
It's a great scene. A lot of this whole episode could have been a movie. Everything was just written so well, played out so well. They just had to do it faster and on a smaller scale. But really, this episode could have been a movie with how well everything was done. And that scene in particular, that was a very important scene, because Will Graham is losing his mind. He doesn't even know who he's looking at in that moment,
right.
And it's just really crazy. It makes you feel crazy.
Absolutely. All right, well, there's our review of episode 11 of Hannibal season 1. Holy cow, 2 episodes to go. So look for those in the near future. If you're still sticking around, thank you so much for catching us. I hope you're enjoying Hannibal, revisiting it from 2013 as well. What a great show. It holds up so well, right, Christopher? It holds up so well.
It still holds up, and it just, to me, it makes me appreciate even more just read this rewatch. And going through and just seeing the artistry, seeing those things I might have missed the first time around. So yeah, it's a beautiful and awesome show. I just hope more people get to see it.
All right. So Vanessa, Christopher, thank you for joining me. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having us here, Pumpkin.
I'm always down for a Hannibal binge.
Oh, that's right. All right, let's say goodnight.
Good night.
Good night.
Gruesome Magazine.